Good morning. This is Sue with MageeNews.com, and we are still discussing hearing. This is Sharon Crompton, and she is at the Medical Towers next to Magee General Hospital, and she is a doctor of audiology. I did get that right. I didn't know if it was going to come out right or not, but it did. And I wanted to discuss with her some more things that I feel you will find will be helpful for you or perhaps someone in your family. And we were discussing hearing aids and the availability of them and how you might could get them. And so I'm just going to get Sharon to tell you what she told me, because it's interesting.
Well, there is a special program for people that work called vocational rehabilitation, and this is a state program. Now, a lot of people that work, if they have a hearing loss, it really shows up at work.
Sure, it's going to affect their job.
That's right. It causes trouble with your co-workers, with customers. And it can also, lead to embarrassment at work and things like that. So, a lot of people are hesitant to get their hearing tested or see about hearing aids. Some of it's the negative stigma that we talked about earlier, but then some of it's they're worried about the cost with the hearing aids. We do have very affordable hearing aids at our facility, but there is a special program for people that work that could help kind of alleviate some of that cost with the hearing aids, and it's through vocational rehabilitation. Now, the way that vocational rehabilitation works, they want to keep the person in the workforce. So they will pay for hearing aids or any other, surgery or anything else that the person may need to keep working.
Well, that definitely makes sense.
That's right. So say you have a hearing loss, what you would do, you would come in and you would see me, and I would check your hearing and determine if your hearing was severe enough, or your hearing loss was severe enough to qualify for vocational rehabilitation services. And if so, then I would write a recommendation to vocational rehab, or they call it voc rehab for short. And a counselor at voc rehab would call the patient and then want to meet with that patient to talk about what kind of problems is your hearing loss causing you at work. They'll want to just kind of discuss what you do at work. And from that, voc rehab will determine if they're going to cover hearing aids or whatever, other medical intervention you would need to keep you in the workforce. Most of the time, hearing aids are covered and the patient doesn't owe anything. Sometimes you may owe a portion on the hearing aids. It's really looked at on a case-by-case basis, but it's a very good program for people that work.
Well, is it, when you say that, I know, I'm thinking, is it available? I would think a lot of people are not even aware of this.
No, a lot of people are not aware of it, and when I tell them, they're shocked because they've never heard about it before. Like I said, when you're working, you don't really, you kind of just assume that because I'm working, I have to take care of myself, most of the time. But voc rehab, it's a really good program for you if you work, and I would really look into it, even if you don't think you have hearing loss. If you've got, something else going on that's really causing you trouble at work, and you've had a physician or a practitioner tell you, I think you can benefit from this surgery, or I think you can benefit from this procedure or this kind of intervention, it could be covered by voc rehab. So
it's really kind of any body part. It's not just your eyes. It could be your feet.
That's right.
Something like that with your hands, something like that. I think that's quite interesting. I didn't have any idea that program was out there. I don't know. I always think, probably like the majority do, that unless you're in disability or poverty level or welfare level or something like that, there might be help. But everybody, it's quite difficult to do.
That's right.
I'm not sure that I understood you correctly on this earlier. Do you have to be, for this exam, would I have to be referred to by a physician?
Yes.
No one can really just call you up and make an appointment?
No. Now, I have had patients to just call their physician and say, hey, I want to get my hearing tested, and the physician will write the order.
Right.
So if you are established and you have a primary care physician, you may not have to actually go in and see your primary care physician, but you would need a physician's referral. Even if you don't want to go through voc rehab, just for the hearing test, you want to be checked out by a physician first. Insurance will pay for the hearing test and the evaluation 100% if you have a physician's referral. If you don't have a physician's referral, you can still get a hearing evaluation, but you're going to have to pay for it. So if you don't have insurance, you don't really need a physician's referral to see me. But if you do have insurance, it would probably behoove you to go and see the doctor, or at least let him write the order. That way it can be covered under your insurance. Most of the time, people don't owe anything for the hearing evaluation to see me, unless you haven't met your deductible or if you have a copay or something like that.
That's great. Okay, we talked earlier too that you cover from 6 months up to adults. How do you test a child? I love bitty babies hearing.
There's different ways, and actually it's pretty fun. The way that we test the little babies, 6 months and up, I have some equipment called visual reinforcement audiometry, and what we do, we actually condition the child to tones. So I'll play a tone, and then I will present a little toy, like a dancing Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck, or we have rabbits. And the child gets conditioned that they know every time they hear that tone, Mickey's going to come on. Mm-hmm. So what they'll do when they hear a tone, they'll turn their head. And so that way, if they turn their head, then I know they heard the sound. Mm-hmm. Also, there are some sophisticated electrophysiological tests that I have called otoacoustic emissions. And what that does, it puts 2 tones into the ear, and then a healthy ear will echo back a unique 3rd tone, which the machine picks up. So the child doesn't have to actually tell me if they hear or not. I can just tell from my equipment whether that's working. Now, less than 6 months of age, the child really can't localize, or they're not really, their fine motor skills and learning how to turn their head. They haven't really developed that yet. So at this time at Magee, we're not, testing 6 months and younger. Maybe someday, we'll be able to do that. Now, there are ways to test children 6 months and under with an ABR test. We just don't have it at our facility. We do that in Laurel, though, at the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic there. We do have the ABR equipment. So if a child didn't pass their newborn hearing screening, that would be the only time they would really need to be tested. Any other time, a small child, you may think they have a hearing loss. It's due to middle ear fluid. And, a lot of times, if it doesn't resolve, they'll get PE tubes, and you'll see the ENT for that. So, usually less than 6 months of age, it doesn't really show up because either they had a newborn hearing evaluation, and if they didn't pass, they were referred to an audiologist for the ABR. So,
are all of our school systems required to, are our school systems required to do hearing tests on children? Do you know?
Yes, all children in the public schools and usually in private schools too, they're supposed to be doing it. As they enter kindergarten, all children have to be screened for their hearing.
Are they screened at the school?
Yes, they're screened at the school. Usually a speech pathologist does the screening, and most of the time children pass the screening. If for any reason they don't pass the screening, then they're referred to an audiologist, and we'll do the full audiological test.
Well, there are a lot of things available, not just for little ones, but for people that are working and want to continue working, and I think that makes the most sense of anything I've heard lately, because it's a great program. But I'm sure, like any government program, the funds are limited.
That's
so
right.
If this is something that you think you might be interested in, or have someone in your family that's interested in, you need to move on the paperwork. Because I don't think it would move fast.
No,
just from dealing with the government, I would not think.
I've seen it take anywhere from 2 months up to 6, 7 months. So it just kind of depends on when the vocal rehab program, they have funds available.
Right.
If they have funds available and you time it just right, you can get them as quick as 2 months. But sometimes when they're out of money, it takes a long time. So if you are even just curious, I would really suggest you come in, and if you don't see me, see an audiologist. Of course, I'd love to see you, but go ahead and get the ball rolling on it, because you just never know what's out there, and you never know what's available until you give it a try.
That's right. And that's something that you can do right here in Magee in Simpson County at Medical Towers next to Magee General Hospital. I'll have all the information on the website for you, and I hope you'll check up on this, especially if you're not hearing too well.